start work on a new project. So I'm going to do some bite-sized videos on my processes. People keep asking me about certain aspects of what I do and how I do it, so I thought it would be useful to get some little videos together. This first one is going to be dealing with prep, so how I prep my furniture ready to do the painting and design work and the finishes later on. So I'll sort of chunk those up into little videos and show you how I do things really. There's more than one way to do things, but this is the way that I do things and how it works for me. So this is the project that I'm going to be doing. It's going to be a drinks cabinet, so it probably was a linen press, would have held your towels and sheets and pillowcases and things, but it's going to be a nice high-end looking drinks cabinet, hopefully by the end. It's probably about 100 years old, so it's had quite a life before, and so that's why it's really important that this prep right at the beginning of the process is done well and thoroughly, particularly because with my type of work, masking tape really challenges the effective grip of your paint to your surface. So that's all about good prep and good product as well, but without good prep, you pull your masking tape off, you're going to pull off all your hard work, essentially, all your paint, etc. So it's really, really important. It's not very exciting, but without it, getting really good geometric designs is made a lot harder. So there's 2 stages to prep. I'll cover the second stage in the next video. This particular stage is, sort of elementary, stripping down the piece, ready to get it sort of finished. I'm going to strip down all of the hardware, so that includes all of the handles, all of the catches. So I've got little catches here on the inside. I'll also take off all the hinges as well, so I take the drawers off and take all the drawers out. I want to give myself as many flat surfaces as possible to work on. I don't want to have to mask around things, to try to sort of either sand or paint around things, because I think something just fell off the wall, because then that's going to affect the smooth finish that I get if I try to go around something instead of just taking it off. Now, it's not always going to be possible, so you do your best. Some vintage furniture has set-in handles and you have to work with it. Every piece will throw up little different challenges. So in this particular one, all I've got to worry about is handles, hinges and catches which hold the doors. So I just need to use a regular screwdriver here, a flathead screwdriver, because most vintage furniture is flathead, but the actual handles are on with bolts, and they've got these little domes of silence, these little metal caps covering the bolts, which can often be a bit confusing about how you get those off. So what I do, I'll just show you, as you can see I've taken most of them off already, because it would be a bit boring to watch me do that. So I use something like this, which is a multi-tool, just from Wilko's. So useful for so much in the workshop. It's got a really thin edge though, so you just need a really thin, but strong edge, but not too bendy. And I'm just going to slip that in the tiny little gaps that you can see around the edge of these little bolt covers. Just find a little gap that I can get hold of. I'm just going to prise it, and then I'm going to move to the other side and prise it. Try not to bend it, basically. There we go. It just comes out, you see, it's got little teeth, like that. So some of those prongs get bent, you can always bend them back with a pair of pliers, and then you just hammer them back in over the top. Back in the same holes, generally, if you're putting them back onto a piece of furniture. So once I've got those off, I'm going to use a normal pair of pliers, like this. And that will mean I can get hold of the square bolts that are on the back of this handle and just loosen those. Be careful not to get your fingers stuck between the plier handles. They are pesky, these things, I have to say, but that's how they used to do it. Okay. Just pull that out the front, and I just put all the bits and bobs in a frog tape box to keep them together to the end of the project, and I'll paint those up. I'll paint them up with the metallic I'm using in the design at some point. So for the screws, I'm just going to use my trusty electric screwdriver. Couldn't live without this. If you work with hinges regularly, you'll know what I mean. Just going to take those out. So they're quite a godsend, and they're not that expensive actually, so I'm going. That's that one. And then I've got these two in here as well, so I can do those. I'm going to paint the interior as well, so I need to get this all ready to go. So once I've got everything off, I can get cracking on the actual prep work itself. I'm sure you know what's coming. Cleaning. That's what it is. Like I said, it's not very exciting. So I think for the sake of this, while we're just doing a little video, I'm going to leave the doors on and I'll clean them in situ, but then I'll take them off when it comes to the sort of the work that I'm doing. When I'm actually prepping them, it's quite good to be able to push down on them when they're flat, if you can, because it's quite tiring actually standing on the side. I sometimes tip the whole thing over. But that's for another video. So, okay, so we're ready to start to clean. So this is the first stage of the two key stages of prep that we need to do before we can start on the fun stuff. So, first things first, I'm going to go through the piece and get rid of any dust, cobwebs, anybody else's belongings that they've kindly left me behind, which is always fun. So, what I usually do is I tip it upside down first, because you can bet 10 to 1 these old pieces that you've picked up, if it's not one that you've had in your own home, or even if it is, there may be cobwebs underneath. Now, I particularly am a bit squeamish with this, so if you're like me, you might want to use a hoover. Otherwise you could use a dustpan and brush. So I have a proper shop vac hoover, big old beast, which is cracking because it's in here. You can also use it to use it as extraction on your sander, which is pretty good. You mustn't use anything that's bagless for sanding extraction. So these are shop vacs, which are really quite cost effective. He's here, this is him, not very pretty. But it's about 60 quid from Screwfix, and it's so strong. We use it for our house hoover, it's so good. But you can attach it, there's attachments to the back of your sander and jigsaw tool and all kinds of tools. So I've just got this particular fitting on it. I'm just going to go ahead and turn the piece over and give it a bit of a clean. Then what I'll do is I'll pull all the drawers out and I'll go inside and along all the runners as well. Now, my little tip, as you can see I can't get into my drawers, is that I use these little needle nose pliers to pull out my drawers. You might have other tools that you can find. Just pull them in like that, so it helps me get my drawers out when they've got no handles on. It's quite handy. But all of this dust and ming, and again inside here, is going to have to go up the hoover before we start to clean. So, bear with me, I'm going to turn this over. Okay. So I've bravely dealt with all the cobwebs, spiders. I also dealt with Barry's underpants. I don't know if you happen to notice in the speeded up bit, and someone's knitting. So yeah, there's some interesting bits of history that get left behind this piece of furniture, and I won't make too light of it because I have this piece of furniture probably because somebody's not with us anymore, you know, so it's part of the history of the piece, Barry's pants. But now it's time to make it beautiful. So to finish the cleaning process, I need to now give it a really good scrub. I've got all the dust off, all the loose cobwebs, etc. So now I need to scrub off the surface. Grease, furniture waxes and polishes, things that you can't see, because those are going to all act as a barrier to my paint sticking properly to the surface. They basically will sort of repel the paint. So it's really important that we get anything off the surface before we go ahead and sand, actually. Sanding being the next stage of prep, so the two key stages. The real reason we don't do it the other way around is if we were to sand first, which would open up the surface by scratching it effectively, we could then reactivate any of those waxes or polishes or just dirt, warm them up and then push them into the grain of the wood. So we need to do it clean, then sand. And you can give it a little bit of clean afterwards if you want to, afterwards to get rid of any of the sort of the loose dust. That's fine, some people do that as well. So it's really important that cleaning comes first to get rid of all that surface residue before you start to open up the surface, which is how you get that key, how you get your products to stick afterwards. So I'm going to use Fusion Mineral Paints TSP. Now, it's not actually TSP. It's called TSP, but it's a TSP-like product because TSP has actually got phosphates in. It's trisodium phosphate, and we can't actually get that in the UK. It's a pollutant at the end of the day. It can pollute our rivers, our watercourses, and poison our fish. So this is biodegradable, and it doesn't put any nasties in the water, which is what we want. It's also nice and kind to us, so I don't even use any gloves sometimes when I'm cleaning. The good thing about it is you don't have to rinse with this. So be careful if you're using anything else, unless you're using a natural product, of course. But if you're using sugar soap or elbow grease or Mr. Muscle, make sure you rinse it really, really well. Get that all off the surface, because again, that could affect how your paint sticks and the finish you get in your paint, because those might react with the paint itself. So make sure you rinse really, really well if you're using anything else, but I don't have to worry about that too much. I put 2 capfuls in, so there's a litre of water in here, around about that. A couple of capfuls of this, and swish it around, and then all I do is squirt this on. Now I use, where have I put it? There it is. I'm using these at the moment, and they look very pretty. They're little scrubbies, they're actually usually bright silver, so this has been through the washing machine quite a few times. I get them from Wilko's and Home Bargains, maybe B&M as well. You get a pack of them together. Not even £1 probably. There's a little sponge inside, but as they get a bit older they get a bit flatter. But they are plastic, but they're not single-use plastics. I'm using these again and again and again, throwing them in the washing machine. This even had paint strip on it, so it just dulls the silver down, but it's still usable. So I was using washing up sponges with the scrubby bits on, but that actually does release plastic. The plastic bits come off, and then you end up throwing them away. So this is obviously a bit better for that. And then I also use e-cloths to try and cut down on the amount of kitchen roll that I use. So I will use these and then throw those in the washing machine as well. So I use those to sort of get off the excess moisture as well when I'm cleaning. Then I've got just a bucket of fresh water really, just to rinse this out as I go. So what I'm going to do is squirt this over my surfaces and then give it a really good scrub. And then every now and again I'm going to go into the bucket and get that off. Usually it would be quite a satisfying dirty bucket of water at the end, so a bucket of dirty water even. So it's going to go on to the top. Alright. So the finish on this is actually quite it's quite intact. It's quite good. So I'm just looking to get the surface stuff off this really. It's not too dirty on the front. It's surprising because it was so dusty inside. So the top here I can see some sticky residue. I just want to give that a really good scrub. Get that, and then get into all the little bits. I've actually got a couple of things down here that I use to help you to get into the edges. You've seen these, you get them in a pack. There's usually 3 actually. There's a metal one that I've got in the kitchen as well, that I use for cleaning my brushes. So the plastic one's a bit more gentle. If you've got something that can take it, you've got a metal one there. So I find those really useful. Better than something like wire wool, which can actually embed bits of metal into your surface, which you don't want, because that can rust. So I'm just going to keep squirting this on. Clean. Might leave it to sit for a little bit if it looks like it needs a bit of extra. Keep rinsing that in there. I'll give you a little look at this bucket in a minute and you'll see what I mean. This stuff's brilliant. It seems gentle, but it just cuts through so much. That's probably going to need. I might spirit is something sticky here, just to cut through that. Yeah, I might come back to that. What I like to do is I like to dry it a little bit as I go, because some finishes start to cloud up as they get wet in them. And what you don't want to do is you don't want the finish to start to lift, and you don't want the veneer to start to lift. So don't leave too much sitting water on it. So take off the excess and then let it dry that way. Now, if you were doing something, let me just grab something else to just show you. So like this is the sort of thing that I might be working on. So this is oak. It's a typical sort of thing that I might do, but also I do quite a bit of teak mid-century stuff. Now this may have been oiled. Now you can paint over and prep for cured or oil finishes. So that means, you know, they're completely dried and basically set. You can paint over them in just the same way as you can over a finish like this, just with the same prep of cleaning and sanding. However, when you start to use a degreaser to obviously get the grease that maybe come from just use over the years or from finish polishes and so on, or beeswax, what have you, the oil finish will actually start to disintegrate. So you will have to clean quite hard sometimes on teak. You'll find it will come off and it'll be really orangey yellow. You just have to keep going. Until you've really cleaned it all off, because once you start to break the finish down, you need to get it off to give yourself a really good surface. And if you keep going, you'll get a really nice sort of almost clean wood, fresh wood, which will take the paint and whatever you're putting over it really well. So you may have to work a little bit harder over teak just to clean off that old finish. And you can kind of tell, because when it dries up it'll still be a bit tacky. You'll be able to see little shiny patches. Just give those an extra scrub. Keep going, keep rinsing until you get it all off. The other thing I've come across with cleaning, if you're doing anything that you know is waxed, like exotic woods that's got wax on, wax has to come off. I mean, nothing can go onto the wax, it just won't take paint and stuff. I've found in my workshops that people have struggled to clean off the wax, because I don't do a lot of waxed finished furniture, but it's been interesting to be sort of seeing different scenarios. And they've gone to the sanding stage, and you can tell that the wax is still there because it's clogged the sandpaper straight away. So what we've done is we've rolled back, and we've actually used white spirit to cut through. So we've scrubbed it with white spirit, which has broken down the waxes, then cleaned it with this process that I've done here, and then gone on to the next stage. So you have to sort of roll back a little bit to use white spirit, which will break down the wax. So if you're really struggling with anything, I definitely suggest grab the white spirit, get a fresh scrubby, and try and break it down that way, and then clean again just to rinse that way. I mean, it does evaporate, so it's not like the end of the world, but so yeah, that's not too bad for cleaning. So yeah, I'll go all over this, and I'll do all around the sides and the bottom and everything. I don't get too microscopic about the bottom and the back, because I don't paint those, and I think that they should be left as they are, as character and pigs. So in actual fact, I'm going to do the sides and the top. Let me tell you that on mine, because they're being painted, whereas this is being stripped. So what I'll do is I'll do another little video showing you stripping the fronts of the doors and the drawers back to the natural wood separately. So that's the cleaning process. And to get yourself a good degreaser, give yourself a good surfaces to work on by taking all of the hardware off. Give it a good sweep, turn it upside down, get into all the nooks and crannies. Nobody wants to be taking a piece of furniture on that's so full of dust or somebody else's pants. And then get yourself a good degreaser and give it a really good scrub, and then a bit of a dry off, ready for the second stage of prep. So hopefully I'll see you on that video. Oh, and I said I'd show you what the water was like when I finished cleaning it. Take a look at that. It's pretty much black. So that's what would be underneath my paint if I didn't clean. Not very nice, but also it's going to stop my paint sticking properly, all of that. So it's worth doing.